John Gill, Exposition of the Bible, Revelation 2, verse 7. Reading first from the King James Bible, quote, "He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh, will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God," unquote. John Gill, quote, "He that hath an ear, such who have new ears given them, as all have who are made new creatures, such who have their ears circumcised and opened by the Spirit of God, who hear with understanding, affection, and faith, who try what they hear, and approve, embrace, and retain that which is good. Let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. Let such hearken and listen with attention to what is said by the Spirit in what goes before and follows after in this epistle, designed for the use of all the churches, from whence it appears that this epistle was indited by the Spirit of God and is of divine inspiration, that it was not intended for the single use of the church at Ephesus, but of all the churches, and not of the 7 churches only, though the Alexandrian copy reads, to the 7 churches, unquote, but of all the churches in that period of time, which the Ephesian church represents, and which may also be useful to the churches of Christ in all other ages and periods of time. And moreover, it may be concluded from hence that there are in this epistle, and so in all the rest, for the same words are subjoined to them all. Some things were not parabolical and prophetic, and not obvious in everyone's understanding and view, for a like expression is used by our Lord when he had delivered anything in a parabolic way or was obscure. See Matthew chapter 11, verse 15. To him that overcometh, the false apostles, false teachers, and their doctrines, coldness, lukewarmness, and remissionlessness in love, and impure tenets and practices of the Nicolaitans, will I give to eat of the tree of life, by which is meant Jesus Christ himself, an allusion to the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, and is so called because he is the author of life, nature, spiritual and eternal, and because of his fruit, the blessing of life and grace that are in him, of which believers may eat by faith, and which they find to be so quickening, comforting, strengthening, and satisfying, and which are Christ's gift to them, and even both the food they eat and the faith by which they eat are his gifts. So Christ, under the name of wisdom, is called the tree of life in Proverbs 3:18, and this is the name which is sometimes given by the Jews to the Messiah, which is in the midst of the paradise of God, as the tree of life was in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 2:9. The Vulgate, Latin, Syriac, and Ethiopic version reads, "The paradise of my God," the God of Christ as well as of his people, and by which may be meant either of the church on earth, which is as a paradise, Song of Solomon 4:12, in the midst of which Christ is, affording his gracious presence and reaching forth his grace and benefits of it to his people, or heaven. See my writings in 2 Corinthians 12:4, said to be of God because it is of his preparing and where he dwells, and in the midst of which Christ, the tree of life, is, and this shows that he is to be come at his faith, and his fruit to be eaten and lived upon, and he is to be beheld and enjoyed by all his saints as he is now, and will be more perfectly hereafter." Unquote. End of John Gill, chapter 2, verse 7.